On March 6, 2020, Tennessee detectives approach a small, unassuming tin playhouse shed situated on a rural family property in Blounteville. The winter air hangs heavy over the sprawling acreage as law enforcement officers navigate a labyrinth of bizarre lies and false leads spun by a teenage mother regarding her missing toddler. Approaching the weathered-out building, investigators notice a sealed trash can sitting in the shadows. Opening the lid, a distinct and foul odor fills the confined space, prompting the forensic team to meticulously peel back thick layers of blankets and crinkled aluminum foil. Inside this dark, suffocating container, they make a devastating discovery that instantly transforms a frantic missing person search into a grim investigation of a permanent end. This chilling, verified moment confirms a horrific reality that shatters the local community. While law enforcement spent weeks chasing phantoms across state lines, the devastating truth sat hidden in the family's own backyard all along. Born in late 2018, Evelyn Mae Boswell enters the world in the rural, close-knit Appalachian community of Sullivan County, Tennessee. The local geography features rolling foothills, winding two-lane roads, and dense forests where generations of families build their homes on shared ancestral land. In this specific region, extended family networks typically form a rigid safety net, watching out for the youngest and most vulnerable residents. Those familiar with the 15-month-old describe a remarkably bright, happy toddler with striking blonde hair and a contagious smile. Evelyn adores playing with simple toys and possesses a natural charisma that easily captures the attention of everyone in any room she enters. Her mere presence brings a rare light into a deeply complicated family dynamic. However, her mother, 18-year-old Megan Boswell, is navigating the immense responsibilities of early motherhood with profound immaturity. The teenage mother relies entirely on a chaotic, ever-changing rotation of relatives, friends, and temporary babysitters to manage her daily obligations. The child spends her earliest months in a constant state of transit, riding in various vehicles between different homes across the county line. Stability remains an entirely foreign concept in the young girl's daily routine. The adults in her life prioritize their own turbulent social lives over establishing a secure foundation for the toddler. Despite this fragmented reality, the outward illusion of a functioning family remains intact to passing observers. Through the lens of social media, Megan curates a seemingly perfect portrait of young motherhood. Digital photographs display a well-fed, smiling Evelyn, dressed in clean clothes and surrounded by colorful toys. Followers scrolling through these digital albums see a young woman fiercely dedicated to her beautiful daughter. Yet, the physical reality behind closed doors paints a starkly different picture of emotional distance and profound neglect. Megan frequently hands Evelyn off to temporary caretakers so she can pursue unpredictable romantic relationships and maintain her active social life. The toddler absorbs the stress of this constant shuffling, learning to adapt to unfamiliar faces and temporary living situations on a weekly basis. Neighbors see the young mother coming and going at odd hours, often without the blonde toddler in tow, to the outside world. These absences appear entirely normal, easily explained away by the assumption that the child rests safely with her grandmother or another trusted relative. The community mind defaults to trust believing that the strong familial bonds of Sullivan County will protect the vulnerable infant. Nobody questions the shifting narratives Megan offers when asked about her daughter's whereabouts. The teenager masters the art of the casual deflection, offering rehearsed smiles and vague reassurances to anyone who inquires. This calculated deception builds a formidable wall around their private lives, isolating Evelyn from the very people who might intervene. The tragic consequence of this isolation is an environment devoid of accountability. As the calendar turns toward December 2019, the crisp autumn air gives way to the harsh, freezing temperatures of an Appalachian winter. Residents of Sullivan County begin hanging holiday lights and preparing for seasonal gatherings, their attention fixed on family traditions. Inside the Boswell network, the chaotic rotation of caretakers reaches a dangerous breaking point. Evelyn's presence at family gatherings and social events begins to dwindle, replaced by empty car seats and silent playpens. Megan continues her daily routine, attending social engagements and running errands as if nothing has changed. Whenever acquaintances ask about the 15-month-old, the teenage mother delivers a calm, practiced excuse about the child visiting relatives or resting at home. The sheer volume of caretakers in Evelyn's past creates a catastrophic diffusion of responsibility. Each family member assumes another relative holds custody of the child, creating a massive blind spot in the familial safety net. Days stretch into weeks, and the vibrant, blonde-haired toddler simply vanishes from the public eye. Not a single alarm bell rings within the community, and no concerned neighbor dials the authorities. The systemic failure of informal childcare arrangements allows a helpless infant to disappear without a single official report being filed. A chilling silence settles over the child's existence, hiding a devastating truth behind a facade of rural normalcy. The fragile illusion of normalcy shatters permanently on February 18, 2020. Desk workers at the Tennessee Department of Children's Services receive an urgent, unsettling tip from a concerned family member regarding Evelyn's physical whereabouts. The caller expresses deep anxiety, noting a disturbing pattern of evasive behavior from Megan whenever pressed about the toddler. Intake specialists begin the standard protocol of mapping out the child's last known locations and primary caretakers. The initial inquiry unearths an alarming timeline that sends immediate shockwaves through the agency office. Investigators cross-reference the family statements and discover the undeniable fact that nobody outside of Megan has laid eyes on the 15-month-old since early December 2019. A massive 2-month void exists in the life of a helpless toddler. The sheer length of this undocumented absence transforms a routine welfare check into a high-stakes crisis response. Department officials immediately notify local law enforcement, triggering a rapid mobilization of Sullivan County deputies. Patrol cars navigate the winding country roads, their tires crunching over the cold gravel as they approach the family residence. The physical distance between the dispatch center and the rural property heightens the tension of the impending confrontation. Detectives prepare themselves for the likelihood of encountering a frantic, terrified mother desperately seeking help. When investigators finally locate and approach Megan Boswell to conduct the official welfare check, her physical demeanor defies all logic and human empathy. Standing in the doorway of the residence, the 18-year-old mother appears entirely unbothered by the sudden arrival of uniformed officers. Detectives carefully observe her body language, noting the complete absence of trembling hands, tearful eyes, or the frantic pacing typical of a parent missing a child. She answers their preliminary questions with a chilling, rehearsed calmness that immediately puts seasoned investigators on high alert. Megan officially claims that Evelyn is perfectly safe and currently residing out of state. She states with absolute conviction that the toddler is staying with the child's biological father, Ethan Perry. The teenager provides specific details to bolster her story, pointing authorities toward a military installation in a different time zone. She offers this explanation without a single stutter, her voice steady and her eye contact unbroken, the psychological dissonance of a mother showing zero panic, while authorities scramble to locate a missing infant, creates a profound sense of dread in the interview room. Detectives record her statements meticulously, understanding that every word she speaks forms the foundation of her legal narrative. They depart the immediate area to verify the claim, leaving the unnervingly stoic teenager behind. Acting on the provided information, lead investigators immediately initiate contact with military officials to track down Ethan Perry. They confirm that the biological father is actively serving in the United States military and is currently stationed at a base in Louisiana. The physical distance between the rolling hills of Tennessee and the Louisiana military installation spans hundreds of miles, requiring coordinated cross-state communication. During the crucial telephone interview, detectives ask Perry to confirm the presence and safety of his 15-month-old daughter. The soldier expresses immediate confusion and profound alarm at the inquiry. Perry explicitly states he does not have the child and confirms he has not seen Evelyn in several months. This glaring, undeniable contradiction instantly shatters Megan's calm facade and exposes the terrifying reality of the situation. The realization that the teenage mother looked directly into the eyes of law enforcement and fabricated a detailed alibi changes the entire trajectory of the case. A standard welfare check instantly devolves into a desperate, frantic search for a vulnerable infant. Sullivan County officials immediately contact state agencies to draft the emergency documentation required for a public broadcast. Hours later, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation issues a statewide Amber Alert, illuminating highway signs and flooding cellular networks with the toddler's image. This digital alarm marks the definitive point of no return, plunging the community into a sprawling investigation built entirely on a foundation of deception. The statewide Amber Alert transforms the Sullivan County Sheriff Office into a high-octane command post buzzing with dispatchers and seasoned detectives. Investigators bring Megan back into a sterile, windowless interrogation room to extract the exact location of the 15-month-old toddler. The physical space consists of a metal table, 2 bolted chairs, and a glaring overhead fluorescent light illuminating the teenager's stoic face. Detectives confront the young mother with the undeniable proof that Ethan Perry does not have the child. Instead of displaying a motherly panic at the collapse of her initial story, the 18-year-old pivots her narrative with chilling precision. She informs the lead investigators that her own mother, Angela Boswell, holds physical custody of Evelyn. Megan details a complex scenario, stating Angela transported the toddler across state lines in a silver luxury sedan. She directs law enforcement to a rural, isolated campground located in Mendota, Virginia. The geographical distance between the Tennessee command post and the Virginia state line requires urgent coordination with neighboring jurisdictions. Detectives record the exact vehicle make, model, and designated destination on heavy legal pads. The specificity of the silver vehicle and the named campground provides a tangible target for the desperate search teams. Law enforcement officials dispatch units northward to intercept the grandmother and secure the helpless infant. The Mendota landscape features dense Appalachian forests, steep ravines, and winding dirt access roads that complicate any rapid response. Virginia state authorities mobilize search and rescue teams, deploying trained canine units and aerial surveillance to scour the designated campground area. Officers inspect abandoned cabins, thick brush, and parked vehicles scattered across the freezing, rugged terrain. Despite hours of intensive ground sweeps, the physical evidence of a silver sedan or a blonde-haired toddler remains absent. The search teams exhaust their designated grid patterns without discovering a single physical trace of Evelyn. As the Virginia operation yields a frustrating dead end, a sudden breakthrough arrives from a jurisdiction situated hundreds of miles to the south. Law enforcement agents locate Angela Boswell driving on a highway in Wilkes County, North Carolina. Highway patrol units initiate a high-risk traffic stop and successfully detain the grandmother alongside an associate. However, the physical reality of the arrest shatters Megan's detailed fabrication yet again. Angela occupies a stolen vehicle, but the car is not a silver luxury sedan, and a thorough search of the interior yields zero signs of the missing child. The grandmother expresses absolute shock regarding the toddler's disappearance, providing verifiable statements that she has not seen Evelyn for weeks. The multi-state operation collapses into a massive sinkhole of wasted resources and shattered hopes. The failure of the North Carolina and Virginia operations forces Sullivan County detectives back to square one with a rapidly ticking clock. Outside the brick facade of the local sheriff department, a heavy media presence gathers alongside frightened community members clutching printed flyers of the missing child. Local residents organize independent search grids, walking shoulder to shoulder through freezing fields and drainage ditches in a desperate bid to find the 15-month-old. Inside the precinct, investigators pull the teenage mother back into the interrogation room to address the glaring falsehoods. Confronted with the undeniable fact that her mother did not possess the child, the 18-year-old constructs an entirely new layer of deception. She looks straight at the seasoned detectives and claims she withheld the truth out of profound physical fear. Megan weaves a complex tale of familial betrayal, asserting that Angela threatened her life and extorted her for money. The teenager insists she kept the disappearance a secret because she believed reporting it would guarantee harm to her daughter. This sudden shift in narrative introduces a massive psychological challenge for the investigators assigned to the case. Detectives must document and verify every fresh accusation, draining vital manpower away from the physical search for the toddler. The legal protocols mandate that every single lead, no matter how absurd, requires an official follow-up and documented closure. The teenager weaponizes the rigid structure of the justice system, forcing police to chase shadows while the trail grows cold. Recognizing the utter futility of relying on verbal statements, the investigative team initiates a comprehensive pivot toward concrete digital forensics. Technology specialists secure warrants to confiscate mobile devices and extract raw cellular data from the teenage mother. The cyber unit operates out of a secured room filled with hard drives and mapping software, constructing a chronological timeline of digital footprints. Analysts cross-reference cellular tower pings from December 2019 with the exact locations Megan claimed to occupy. The digital data reveals a glaring discrepancy between the teenager's rehearsed stories and her actual physical movements. Signal transmissions place her mobile device at specific commercial locations and private residences that contradict her sworn testimonies. Investigators pore over miles of digital text message logs and social media metadata to build an undeniable map of her daily routines. They discover extensive communication patterns detailing social events, casual conversations, and romantic pursuits during the exact time frame Evelyn vanished. Not a single text message sent by the mother during those critical weeks expresses panic, requests help, or mentions a missing infant. The digital silence surrounding the child provides a chilling realization for the cyber team mapping the network. The data proves beyond a reasonable doubt that Megan lived a carefree existence while her daughter was unaccounted for. This electronic evidence solidifies the investigative theory that the mother is sabotaging the rescue operation to mask a permanent tragedy. Armed with the contradictory cellular data, investigators push the boundary of their interrogation strategy by requesting a formal polygraph examination. Detectives transport the young mother down the long, fluorescent-lit corridors to a specialized testing suite equipped with biometric sensors. The environment demands total silence and physical cooperation from the subject to measure physiological responses without interference. Just as the polygraph examiner begins to attach the chest bands and finger monitors, the teenager deploys another calculated defensive maneuver. Megan abruptly announces a new pregnancy, a medical condition that introduces severe complications and strict legal protocols regarding polygraph administration. The rigid documented standards of the testing procedure force the examiner to halt the session to prevent physiological variables from corrupting the results. This sudden medical claim functions as an effective legal loophole, stalling the entire psychological evaluation in its tracks. Outside the confines of the police station, The 18-year-old steps in front of local television news cameras to broadcast her shifting narratives. She provides multiple unsolicited interviews to local journalists, offering a bizarre mix of smiles, deflections, and contradictory excuses. The mature true crime audience watching these evening broadcasts witnesses a masterclass in narcissistic deflection. Detectives watched the television screens in the squad room, documenting every public statement she makes to add to the mounting pile of perjury evidence. Her sheer arrogance in front of the media lenses confirms the deep psychological void driving her actions. The massive volume of documented fabrications provides the district attorney with the legal ammunition necessary to halt the teenager's public spectacle. On February 25, 2020, law enforcement officials draft formal charging documents and execute an arrest warrant for the mother. Deputies place the young woman in steel handcuffs and transport her to the Sullivan County Jail on a single charge of filing a false police report. The heavy metallic click of the jail cell door locking behind her ensures she can no longer tamper with external witnesses or flee the jurisdiction. With the primary suspect secured behind concrete walls, the physical search for the 15-month-old intensifies across the Appalachian landscape. Dive teams clad in thick neoprene suits submerge themselves into freezing, murky farm ponds to sweep the muddy bottoms for any sign of a discarded child. Local volunteers comb through abandoned barns, dense briar patches, and illegal dumping sites located along the rural county borders. The community endures agonizing days of empty spaces and silent radios, waiting in desperate anticipation for a breakthrough that refuses to materialize. Detectives return to the drawing board, constructing massive timeline boards in the command center linking every known associate of the Boswell family. The investigation hits a grueling slow burn phase where every single unverified tip requires hours of tedious driving and questioning. The physical reality of the passing days drains the emotional reserves of the seasoned professionals working the case. Despite securing the mother in a detention cell, the horrifying question of the toddler's actual fate remains unanswered. The continuous dead ends scattered across multiple state lines force the lead investigators to reevaluate the entire psychological profile of the suspect. A veteran detective analyzing the timeline board recognizes a distinct pattern in the 18-year-old's barrage of lies. Every single false lead, from the military base in Louisiana to the campground in Virginia, served to steer law enforcement away from Sullivan County. The realization dawns on the command center that the teenager constructed this elaborate web of deception to create extreme geographic distance. Authorities pivot their entire operational strategy, deciding to ignore the external noise and focus on the immediate Boswell family properties. Investigators pull property records, satellite maps, and zoning documents to identify every single parcel of land owned by the extended family. They zero in on a sprawling rural property located in Blountville, Tennessee, owned by Megan's father, Tommy Boswell Sr. The geographical layout of the Blountville acreage includes a main residence, scattered outbuildings, and acres of thick, untamed grass. Detectives understand that perpetrators lacking extensive resources or criminal networks typically conceal their crimes within their immediate, familiar environments. The legal team works late into the night drafting comprehensive search warrants, targeting the exact structures located on the family land. A distinct sense of dread settles over the investigative team as they prepare to execute the localized search operation. The relentless chase across state borders circles back to the very place where the tragedy began. On March 6, 2020, the exhausting web of deception collapses under the weight of geographical logic. A veteran detective analyzing the sprawling timeline board recognizes a distinct pattern in the 18-year-old's barrage of lies. Every single false lead, from the military base in Louisiana to the campground in Virginia, served to steer law enforcement away from Sullivan County. Authorities pivot their entire operational strategy, deciding to ignore the external noise and focus exclusively on the immediate Boswell family properties. Investigators pull property records, satellite maps, and zoning documents to identify every single parcel of land owned by the extended family tree. They zero in on a sprawling rural property located in Blountville, Tennessee. The deed lists Tommy Boswell Sr. as the primary owner, establishing a direct familial link to the prime suspect. A massive convoy of unmarked police vehicles, crime scene vans, and local deputies navigates the winding asphalt of Highway 39. They turn onto a long gravel driveway leading into the isolated acreage. The geographical layout features a large primary residence positioned near the main road, surrounded by acres of untamed winter grass and scattered, weathering outbuildings. A heavy frost clings to the dormant vegetation, casting a gray pallor over the entire crime scene. Detectives park their transport vehicles near the property line and march across the uneven ground in a coordinated line. They bypass the main house, their collective attention fixed on a specific structure located 50 yards behind the primary residence. A small, unassuming tin playhouse shed sits entirely isolated in the sprawling backyard, shielded from the view of the main road. The exterior features rusted metal panels, a sloped aluminum roof covered in dead leaves, and a single wooden door secured by a simple metal latch. The investigators form a tight, unyielding perimeter around the outbuilding, their heavy boots crushing the frozen earth and snapping brittle twigs. A profound silence falls over the search team as they prepare to execute the localized warrant. A lead detective steps forward to breach the structure, his hand gripping the cold metal of the locking mechanism. The harsh metallic scrape of the door latch echoes across the empty acreage, signaling the point of no return. The detectives pull open the wooden door, forcing the rusted metal hinges to groan in protest against the freezing Appalachian air. The confined interior of the tin playhouse holds a chaotic assortment of forgotten yard tools, empty cardboard boxes, and discarded household items. The natural light fails to penetrate the windowless structure. Thin beams of heavy police flashlights cut through the gloom to illuminate the dusty, untreated floorboards. A large dark plastic trash can sits entirely isolated in the exact center of the cramped room. The visual geometry of the small shed draws every single eye directly to this specific container. A foul, distinct odor permeates the enclosed, stagnant air of the outbuilding. This specific scent triggers an immediate recognition among the seasoned investigators, signaling a grim biological reality that no officer wants to encounter. The lead forensic technician steps forward into the narrow space, his breathing shallow in the tainted air. He dons heavy blue nitrid gloves, ensuring strict adherence to rigid contamination protocols. The ambient sounds of the surrounding rural landscape fade into total deafening silence. He places both hands on the outer rim of the plastic lid. He breaks the tight manufacturer seal and lifts the heavy cover away from the base. The trapped odor escapes the container in a concentrated, undeniable wave that forces the nearest deputies to step back. A heavy, unidentifiable mass sits packed tightly against the inner plastic walls of the cylinder. The investigators point their tactical lights down into the dark cavity to assess the contents. The crime scene unit approaches the open container with extreme caution. The unidentified mass inside is wrapped securely in thick layered blankets. The forensic team works with deliberate precision to document the pristine state of the evidence. A technician activates a high-resolution digital camera, capturing the position of the fabrics from multiple angles before altering the scene. They slowly pull back the heavy outer layers of the blanket beneath the woven fabric. They encounter a thick secondary barrier of crinkled aluminum foil. The perpetrator utilized this metallic layer to seal the inner contents from the outside world and trap the decomposition. The technicians peel back the stiff foil, revealing the devastating core of the package. The harsh beams of the flashlights illuminate the remains of a small child. The victim sits folded entirely upside down, her small frame compressed violently into the narrow confines of the plastic cylinder. The child wears a purple fleece onusi patterned with tiny white penguins. This specific article of clothing provides an immediate, undeniable match to the missing person profile of 15-month-old Evelyn Boswell. The physical reality of the scene strikes the investigative team with a sickening force. The 18-year-old mother possessed absolute knowledge of this exact location from the very beginning. She watched state agencies burn thousands of man-hours crossing state borders, fully aware her daughter rested in a trash can on her father's own land. The ultimate, horrifying betrayal stands exposed beneath the glare of the police flashlights. The crime scene technicians secure the Blauntville property with heavy yellow perimeter tape and transport the tragic discovery to the state medical examiner. The subsequent autopsy report reveals a horrifying mechanical truth regarding the final moments of the toddler. The 15-month-old did not succumb to a sudden childhood illness, a natural defect, or an unforeseen accident. The medical examiner determines the official cause of death as positional asphyxiation. The tight wrapping of the heavy blankets and the crinkled aluminum foil severely restricted the physical expansion of her small lungs. Furthermore, the forced upside-down positioning inside the confined trash can completely compromise her biological ability to draw oxygen. This deliberate, methodical packaging extinguished her life in absolute darkness, turning a common household container into a suffocating trap. Following this irrefutable forensic conclusion, a Sullivan County grand jury convenes to review the gathered evidence. The state prosecutors present the autopsy findings alongside the sprawling timeline of the mother's fabricated alibis. The grand jury hands down a massive sweeping indictment against the teenage mother. The state charges her with 19 total counts of severe criminal conduct. The legal document lists 3 separate charges of first-degree intentional homicide, aggravated child abuse, severe neglect, tampering with crucial physical evidence, and 12 counts of false reporting. Law enforcement officers serve the massive indictment to the mother inside her isolated county jail cell, locking her into a definitive legal battle. The legal process enters a grueling phase of procedural delays, testing the endurance of a community desperate for official answers. Defense attorneys file countless suppression motions to challenge the digital evidence gathered by the police cyber unit. They argue over the admissibility of the cellular tower data, attempting to fracture the chronological timeline established by the prosecution. Procedural hearings consume the court docket, forcing the remaining family members to endure endless calendar shifts and legal posturing. The structural friction of the justice system stalls the proceedings through multiple seasons, administrative bottlenecks, and pandemic-related closures. Every single delay extends the psychological agony for the local residents who spent weeks searching the freezing wilderness. Finally, on February 4, 2025, the massive case enters a Sullivan County courtroom for the official trial. The architectural layout of the historic courthouse features high ceilings, heavy oak benches, and an imposing judge's bench that commands absolute authority over the room. Security deputies secure the perimeter, checking the credentials of the massive media presence gathered to witness the proceedings. The defendant takes her seat at the defense table, wearing a sterile courtroom outfit that masks the profound deception detailed in the case files. The mature true crime audience watching the live feed recognizes the classic, arrogant posture of a perpetrator convinced they can outsmart the justice system one last time. The district attorney stands before the 12-seated jurors, systematically dismantling the fabricated reality constructed by the teenage mother. Prosecutors present a towering mountain of digital forensics to the court, utilizing large display monitors to map out the exact cellular tower data. This electronic footprint exposes her geographical deception, proving she attended casual social events while her daughter lay discarded in a shed. The state displays the chilling crime scene photographs recovered from the Tin Playhouse in Blountville, forcing the courtroom to witness the physical reality of the trash can. Over the course of the exhausting 11-day trial, more than 30 witnesses take the stand to deliver undeniable testimony against the defendant. These individuals, ranging from former babysitters to lead detectives, paint a vivid picture of a calculated cover-up designed to protect a predator hiding in plain sight. The defense attempts to deflect blame onto external family members, specifically pointing the finger at the grandmother who was arrested in North Carolina years prior. They utilize the exact same shifting narratives deployed during the initial investigation, hoping to inject a single sliver of reasonable doubt into the jury box. However, the irrefutable physical evidence and a flawless chronological timeline anchor the jury to the absolute truth. The prosecution effectively proves that only one person possessed the motive, the opportunity, and the cold calculation required to execute the cover-up. The 12 jurors deliberate with careful precision, reviewing the forensic data and the massive barrage of documented false statements. The courtroom falls into absolute silence as the jury returns to the heavy oak benches to deliver their final decision. The jury foreman reads the definitive verdict into the official record, effectively dismantling the last remnants of the mother's narcissistic facade. The jury convicts the defendant on all 19 counts, rejecting every alternative theory presented by the defense. The legal hammer falls with crushing, undeniable weight upon the perpetrator. The jury sentences her to life in prison, mandating a minimum of 51 years behind Convict.